Good morning. Today is Monday, August 2nd. Good morning, everybody. Today is August 2nd, 2021, and that is the first Monday of a new month. And this is the Division of Child Support Services here in the state of Delaware's monthly Child Support Connection. My name is Ted Murmagos, and I am the Division Director here in the state of Delaware. I'm glad to be coming to you in this Facebook Live event to share information about the child support program here in the state of Delaware. We took last month off because it was the 4th of July holiday for state employees, but I'm glad to be back, and I hope that there are some questions that I can answer regarding child support in the state of Delaware, and even how we may interact with other states around the country. So, I thought before we start getting some questions, I would talk a little bit about our mission here at the Division of Child Support Services. And I think I mentioned this in the past, that we a couple years ago changed this mission statement because the last mission statement that we had was really more of a business-like, this we do this, and this for the benefit of children, And this mission statement is more inclusive and really talks a little bit about how we want to look at a family here in the first state and how we will try to get child support in order to support the family. So it's our mission here at the Division of Child Support Services to deliver quality customer support by partnering with parents to improve the lives of children and their families. This is achieved through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet the financial, medical, and emotional needs to promote family self-sufficiency and the best outcomes for children. And as you can see by that mission statement, it really does try to support the family unit, and that's something we try to do each and every day. Our 200 employees throughout the state, when we come to work, we try to live by that mission to support families. A couple other little things that I wanted to kind of share with folks. The Division of Child Support Services is still seeing walk-in customers, but it's still by appointment only. And if you've tuned into my monthly radio show with Jake Smith down in Sussex County, we still are trying to work through, and I mentioned this to Jake, we're still trying to work through a process to make sure that there are safe ways that our employees can interact in person with our walk-in customers. And we're hoping to have something in place by the beginning of September. Currently, if you feel you need to come to the Division of Child Support Services, we're asking that you first contact our customer service unit, and that phone number is area code 302-577-7171, and let us and let the customer service unit triage your particular situation and see if it really does warrant your coming into the Division of Child Support Services. If you need to come in, they'll schedule you an appointment. They'll make sure that all of the protocols are in place, that you are seen timely, and we're asking that folks continue to wear a mask while you're in the child support office, even if you're vaccinated, in order to just ensure the safety of our employees. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't mention this very often, but this seems like a very good opportunity for us to promote some of the things we're doing. The Division of Child Support Services, if you are a custodial parent or a non-custodial parent and you have a child support case here in the state of Delaware, we have a customer website that you can sign up for with it, and you actually create a username and a password, and you will be able to communicate with your worker via a quasi email system. You'll be able to print an account statement at home. you'll be able to share with us changes of address, changes of employer information. And if you want information about the customer website, go to our website through delaware.gov, and there's information on that website to sign up for the customer website. The other thing that I want to share with you is that, the customer website, the actual login process is going to change. So if you are a current user of the customer website, be aware that you're going to be receiving an email from the state of Delaware to the email that we have on record for you that will tell you how to change your update your username and password through this new process. So I just want to let people know, we at Child Support sent out a kind of an initial email that says you're going to be receiving another email through the customer website from the state of Delaware, how to change your username and password to the customer website. So I just want to let people know, keep an eye on your email. The information should be coming. But I encourage people to sign up for that customer website because it's going to give you an alternative way of communicating with us here in the state of Delaware for your child support situation, your child support matters. Everyone's got another additional way to communicate with the child support program. The other thing we are going to be launching very soon is what we call our proactive customer notification system. And that's going to give us here at the Child Support Office the capability of sending out wildcard emails to all of our customers that we have an email address for. And that will allow us to proactively share information with our customers about the child support program. Everything from you have a court date coming up this Monday to the state offices are closed because of a weather situation. So we are so looking forward to having that proactive customer notification system to share with all of you. And if you want to receive an email from us or a text message from us, make sure we have a cell phone number for you and an email address, either one. And that will give us the capability to communicate with you in another way. We hear, and I'm just telling you this, we hear all the time, I waited on hold, or I never heard back from my client or my customer caseworker, or I don't have time to call you or time to wait online. This just gives you another way. Our customer website gives you another way to communicate with us. So I'm always encouraging people to go to our website through delaware.gov, go to the Child Support Services website, and there's information about how to sign up for our customer website, and that will help you get more information about child support. And also, one of the things I mentioned a few seconds ago, keeping your address updated with the Child Support Office and Family Court. I shared with Jake Smith this last week a bit of good news. We got an email from a custodial parent who was indicating, my case isn't being worked. There's been no enforcement activity happening. And she sent that email to me through Jake Smith, and we were so excited. I was so excited to get that email because when I went and looked at her case, there was $9,000, almost $9,500 here at our child support office that we had sent out to her in payments that had come back because we didn't have a valid mailing address for her. So I was so excited to call her and have her come into the child support office, and I hand delivered her almost $9,500 in child support payments. And I've communicated with her since that we have an additional payment here that we're waiting to send to her because of some IRS regulations. So it's always important. You may have the First State Family Card, we don't call it that anymore, the U.S. Bank Relia card, or you may be getting payments to your bank account through direct deposit. But it's so important for you to keep your address updated with the Child Support Office, because you never know, that bank account may get closed, and we may be sending money there that gets kicked back from the bank. You forget to let us know, hey, set me up with a new bank account for my direct deposit payments. or the first day, the U.S. bank issued Relia card gets something jammed up with that, and payments get kicked back. So always, 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 if you move, please, 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 please let us know that you got a new mailing address. And so, we communicate that to the family court, but it couldn't hurt to communicate that to the family court also. Feel free, I see that we've got 16 folks viewing this Facebook Live event. If you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. I love questions, and I try my best to answer them the best that I can. And if I don't have the answer, I try to find the answer, and we get back to you at a later date. But if you're viewing this live today, feel free to ask a question. I'm more than happy to answer those questions. So far I've covered our customer service telephone number, 577-7171. We're still scheduling people to come in by appointment, but we're hoping by September to be able to really let folks come in to our 3 child support offices statewide and have access to be able to walk into our offices. We're working on a plan right now. One of the things we also recently dealt with is bilingual employees. We have in all 3 offices, I'm proud to say, bilingual employees that are there to help the Spanish-speaking clients and non-custodial parents who come to our office seeking assistance, or if you call our customer service unit, there's a specific number you can hit on your phone prompt to speak to a bilingual child support specialist. But if you speak another language other than Spanish, we have the capability of hooking you up through our office, and so our worker can participate, our child support specialist can participate in a translation process, an interpreter process, and we're happy to use that whenever we need to make sure that we're communicating with our clients, both custodial parents and non-custodial parents, in a language that they can understand and that we can answer their questions. Just trying to think of some other things that are important. The family court continues to operate on an open basis. There are offices available, the resource centers, to help non-custodial parents who may want to file a document with the family court, and they're operating normally. Mediation sessions are continuing to be held virtually, but commissioners' hearings are being held in person. So information is being provided. So if you have a mediation session coming up, you should have received a notice that it's going to be a virtual hearing, and some instructions on how to provide financial materials in advance of that hearing, either to the child support office or to the family court directly. So there's a question here about how can I contact you directly? And I'm assuming when this person says you, they're talking about me directly. My email address, even though I have the history of being a child support specialist, I've worked in the state of Delaware for 25 years, primarily here at child support, so I have a lot of case knowledge. Ultimately, the hope is that individuals will contact customer service, will contact their worker through the customer website. There's concern about my putting my email address out there that I'm going to get inundated with emails. So I need to be cautious about sharing my email address. Ultimately, my suggestion to anyone is to call customer service first and see if we can resolve those particular questions. You can always, if there's a concern, we'd like to try to elevate those concerns about child support through supervisors and managers. But ultimately, I get involved. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't want to get involved. These Facebook Lives, going on the radio, doing presentations to the public. I wouldn't do that if I didn't want to hear from the public. But it's important that we give other opportunities to the caseworker to resolve particular child support issues. So I'd rather not give out my email address on this Facebook Live video, but ask that people call or work through our customer service unit at 577-7171. You can also send me a letter if you have a particular concern about your child support case. The address for the director's office is P.O. Box 11223, Wilmington, Delaware 19850. It's P.O. Box 11223, Wilmington, Delaware 19850. And those letters I will look at. Every letter that's mailed to me in the office of the director, I look at, and then we'll have a response drafted either by myself or with the help of a child support specialist, if it's related to a specific case. So I'm hoping I answered your question. I know you may be looking for my contact information. My suggestion is to try to work through customer service, but you can always send me a letter at that address I just gave you, and I'd be more than happy to respond to you in writing. And sometimes I do have to, get the assistance of a child support specialist to help me do that. The other thing I wanted to mention too is, we talk a little bit about payments coming into the child support office, and we talk a little bit about wage withholdings. The Division of Child Support Services sends out thousands and thousands of wage withholdings to employers, each year. And that's our biggest enforcement tool. We get about 75% of our child support payments from an employer mailing in those child support payments on behalf of their employees, and we're grateful for that. So I wanted to give a shout out to employers here in the state of Delaware, and around the country, because we, as a child support community, could not do our job without the help of employers around the state and around the country. The other thing is, we, maybe I'll throw out this question to the viewers of this video, and feel free to comment in the comment section. And you can also, after this video posts on our Facebook page, the Child Support Facebook page, if you have a suggestion, I'm looking for suggestions about changes to Delaware code, Delaware law, that you think might be beneficial to the child support program. Now, this could be, the next legislative session doesn't start until January of 2022. But if you have an idea about possible proposed legislative changes, I'm open to listen to ideas and look for ideas that will possibly improve the child support program. We're looking at exploring a couple things internally about how we potentially serve non-custodial parents in the state of Delaware. And we're also looking at how subcontractors or individuals who may be self-employed potentially honor wage withholdings that might be sent to them. Historically, individuals who are subcontractors or get 1099s, sometimes they don't honor the wage withholdings that we send to them, even for their own case. So we're looking at exploring how we deal with that. And, like a lot of the Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, they're 1099 employees. And if they owe child support, trying to get payments in the door from those folks is a little bit difficult. So, we're looking at how we treat and maybe how can we do some changes to the Delaware code about how we treat 1099 employees, and other child support agencies around the countries have also done that. So we're looking at opportunities to try and expand that a little bit. We've also looked at some legislation related to the license suspension program, and really, some of the impacts that it may have on incarcerated non-custodial parents. Obviously, we don't want to suspend, and we don't suspend individuals who are incarcerated. Now, did it happen before they got incarcerated? Probably. In most cases, that's the situation. But while they're incarcerated, we do not move forward with suspending someone's license, because obviously they can't deal with the fact that we're doing that while they're incarcerated. But we're also considering looking at a designated amount of time that an individual, after they're released from incarceration, not necessarily taking a step to suspend their license, to give them an opportunity to get back on their feet, to find employment, to start sending in payments. So we're looking at that possibility. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to ask the Facebook community for ideas. There's nothing wrong with us. I can't guarantee you we'll take advantage of all of those ideas. We'll look at legitimate ideas and possibly making some proactive changes to the Delaware Code on whether it's enforcement tools that people think we should have in place that we don't. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the enforcement tools we have now, or some of the things that maybe we shouldn't do any longer, or things that we could do better. That maybe we could get some legislative changes to help us do that. So I'm open to ideas. And with the help of my community relations officer, we'll monitor the Facebook page. And if you see potential updates, that if we see things that people have raised about changes we should make, we'll take advantage of that and look at the code and see about making changes. So I'm offering that to the Delaware community to look at legislative proposals. But I need that. We can only wait a certain amount of time before we could take a look at advancing that. So. Put your thinking caps on, and if you could think of something, that might be something we could consider. So I want to talk a little bit while we're talking about enforcement, to take a look at some of the things we do. I mentioned wage withholdings. We issue wage withholdings to employers. That's the biggest enforcement tool, one of the better enforcement tools we have to make sure child support payments are coming in the door. Talked a little bit about the license suspension program. That too generates a lot. And I want to say this: when we talk about license suspension as an enforcement tool, one of the things we talk about as a child support community is that the license suspension program opens the door for non-custodial parents to have discussions with the child support office. We send a letter. We cannot suspend a license without issuing a letter to the non-custodial parent saying that we're going to do it. If you listen to me talk in public about our license suspension program, it's about we send a letter and non-custodial parents should open that letter and should look at the letter and should call us, because initiating that contact with the child support office before that suspension takes place is so important. It's so important, and it opens the door to a discussion about non-custodial parents getting back on the right track. If you haven't made payments for at least 30 days, you're going to get that letter. So we know we haven't gotten payments in at least 30 days. So opening a discussion about getting back on track to avoid that license from being suspended, it's always the best thing that could possibly happen, because it starts that discussion. Same thing with passport denial or a tax intercept. We have to send a letter to non-custodial parents before we take those actions. And when we do that, instead of that letter being disregarded, it should be a mechanism to start the discussion about what can I do to avoid this enforcement action from happening, and what can I do to get back on the right track. And believe it or not, the staff in the child support office will also talk to non-custodial parents about their child support case. What does it look like? What are you paying what's the court-ordered amount each month? Should there be a modification? Should the non-custodial parent consider modifying their child support order? I don't really necessarily like this term because it's kind of quirky, but to right size the child support order so it's something that a non-custodial parent can afford to pay. Believe you me, a custodial parent would rather have a court order in place that the non-custodial parent can legitimately afford to pay and make payments every month than to have some astronomically high child support order to pay every month and not get a payment, not get child support because the non-custodial parent can't afford it. So we can help non-custodial parents get on the right track to making regular payments on their child support case. So I see I have a comment or a question here. You mentioned something about a radio show earlier. What is that about? Thank you for asking. One of the things I love to do is talk about where I can be found in public. So, obviously during the pandemic, we at Child Support have not been out doing health fairs, job fairs, community events. I think in September we're starting up that process again and doing our first community event in Newark, Delaware. I do this Facebook Live page, Facebook Live video, the first Monday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30, and I think I'm going to put something in place because July was kind of messed up because of the holiday. I'm going to probably in the future skip every month that the first Monday falls on a state holiday and just skip that month and start it back up the next month like I'm doing here in August. But every third Wednesday of the month, I go down to Sussex County and I'm on the radio with Jake Smith on WGMD. That's 92.7 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Third Wednesday of every month from 10 to 11. And I take questions from the public. The public can call Jake's radio station, and his phone number is on our website. And they can email Jake while I'm on the radio, and he'll read their email, not giving out any names or anything like that. He'll read email questions, and I answer those questions. As the pandemic gets more in the rearview mirror and we're out doing more public events, I'm hoping to get out to do some of those public events. And I'm hoping that we can do more radio stations here in Wilmington, in the Newcastle County and Kent County areas, to really talk about child support and take questions from the public. The one good thing about 92.7 WGMD is they have a very good app that you can get on the App Store or the Apple website. Their app is very good. I listen to it sometimes from Kent County, and they're in Sussex County, and it's very clear. And so if you want to hear me on the radio, I encourage you to download the app to your smartphone, and we can do that. But I'm hoping to get on television and radio up in Kent County and in Newcastle County, and to continue to do some stuff down in Sussex County. We've done some, myself and a Hispanic colleague of mine down in Sussex County. We do Maxima Radio on occasion, and we answer questions from the public. So that's what I'm all about. And I'd also like to put this out there. If you have if you're part of a community association or a civic association or a nonprofit, and you can put together a group of people who want to hear a child support presentation, I'll come out and do it myself. I have other people that would be more than happy to come and do that. So I encourage people to call us here at the Child Support Office and reach out to our Community Relations Officer online. And we will be more than happy to come and do a child support presentation to a group of people who want to hear, whether custodial parents, non-custodial parents, family groups, churches. We'd be more than happy to come and do a presentation about child support and share information about what we do to help custodial parents and non-custodial parents maneuver through the child support system. So I thank you for that question. It's a very good question. But Jake, we get a kick out of doing it. I love going down to Sussex County and being on the radio. And Jake Smith loves taking questions from the public about child support. And like I said, that $9,200 payment that was issued to a custodial parent was because we were on that radio station. So it does a lot for the community, and I encourage people to really kind of tune in. And if you want to hear more about child support, I'd be more than happy to come to community events and take questions from the public and be able to do that. So let's talk a little bit more about some other enforcement tools. I talked a little bit already about license suspension, passport denial. So the federal government gives the Child Support Office the ability to deny passports. So if you have a passport, those passports are good for 10 years, and you're in good shape. But it comes up when a non-custodial parent wants to renew their passport, we notify the Department of State that we're denying the renewing of a passport or the initiating of getting a passport if non-custodial parent owes child support arrears, and there's a certain dollar amount. You can go to our website. I don't want to misquote it, but there's a certain dollar amount that once you hit that threshold, we send an electronic message to the Department of State, and they can deny that passport. Because the passport is good for 10 years, that's one of the enforcement tools that we are pretty strict about. The policy is to pay your child support arrears off in full to get that passport reinstated, to be able to renew your passport. Now, we work with non-custodial parents. Sometimes non-custodial parents need that passport to go to a new country to do work. And we will ask for a substantial lump sum payment if they cannot meet the balance of paying off the child support arrears. But it is something we ask for, a substantial amount of money to be paid on those arrears, because getting that passport for 10 years really kind of solidifies that enforcement tool kind of goes away. So we are very strict on the passport denial program, and that's something we try to work with non-custodial parents. But if you owe arrears, we're going to look for a big lump sum payment on those arrears. We issue liens on personal injury lawsuits, or we can sequester that private attorneys withhold from a settlement to pay child support arrearages. The key to that is, if you're a custodial parent and you're hearing that the non-custodial parent is going to get a lump sum payment from a personal injury lawsuit or a workers' compensation claim, you need to let us know that, so that and you got to kind of let us know with a little bit of time, so we can get the courts to issue a court order to that attorney that says once settlement is made, that the expectation is they're going to contact the child support office and find out what the arrears are, so that we can go ahead and sequester a lump sum payment be paid on the child support arrears. So there's a mechanism. We talking about legislation. We did some legislation a couple years ago that required insurance companies to report to the Child Support Lien Network, as well as the Office of Child Support Enforcement, when a personal injury lawsuit potentially, or a workers' compensation claim, was going to be filed, so that we at the Child Support Office can receive that information and issue the lien or the required paperwork to ensure that child support arrears are paid off. That's something that like I said, we changed some legislation a couple years ago. Myself, a couple other folks within the child support program, Representative Tim Dukes down in Laurel, as well as the insurance industry and the attorney, the Delaware Bar Association. We worked closely on to get that legislation changed. So it's important to get lump sum payments like that. So we worked hard, to get that legislative change done, and it's now yielding some positive aspects. So wanted to talk a little bit about video lottery. And along with the video lottery is just the regular lottery system. We have a mechanism put in place, like I think every child support agency around the country. If you have a child support case and you owe arrearages, and say you go to the Wawa and buy a scratch off, if you hit on that scratch off, then you have to contact the Division of Lottery to be paid. The Division of Lottery checks with the Child Support Office. And if you have child support arrears, we will intercept a portion or all of those winnings to pay off child support. If you're going to one of the 3 casinos in the state of Delaware and you play video lottery and you hit over $1,200, and you have to go to the window and claim your winnings, there to check with the Child Support Office to see if you owe child support arrears. And if you do, they are going to give you a letter that says to contact us because we're going to intercept those winnings to pay off child support arrears that you may owe. And I see we have a question and comment here. So it says, this is coming in from one of our viewers. My son has not received a payment in 4 months. At what point does child support take some kind of action? The caseworker mentioned increasing the arrears and placing him in contempt. This would be on top of the $15,000 in arrears he already owes. What about the non-custodial parents? What about non-custodial parent rentals? Can a lien be placed against those if they are considered additional income? Okay, so a lot going on here. So contempt action, if there's been no payment in 4 months, we can certainly generate a contempt petition. Now I say that, but I have to say something ahead of that. If, for instance, you've been to court previously and, like, say on a contempt petition, and the non-custodial parent failed to show for that hearing, if there is a civil bench warrant, which is a family court capias already in place against the non-custodial parent, the Division of Child Support cannot generate a new petition with the family court unless that petition has been, that first petition has been resolved. So we cannot generate a new contempt petition. And my suggestion would be to talk to the worker. There would need to be steps taken to resolve that first capias. But let's say, for instance, in this case, there is not a capias already. I would suggest that the worker would want to generate a contempt petition. If it is a previous Delaware family court order, we would generate a contempt petition. We should generate a contempt petition, and if there's been no payments in 4 months. Without looking at the case, I'd have to look it over, but I'm going to take your word for that. Now, as it relates to this non-custodial parent owning rental properties, my suggestion would be, if there's a contempt petition being heard by the family court, you definitely would want to bring that issue up with the family court. To let them know that there is other income that may not necessarily be being reported. Additionally, if he owns rental property, I'm wondering if he has a business license. I mean, is that something that we would want to consider? When we talk about license suspension, the license suspension program, we talk about primarily driver's licenses. That's the big issue. People want to have their driver's license. But we also have the ability to suspend business licenses, to suspend professional licenses, to suspend hunting and fishing licenses. So if he owns his own company, that's something that I would want to have the worker take a look at. Have we taken that type of action in the past? And could that be something we would want to do in the future? So I see you've included his name in the chat. I'm going to ask you to take that out, just so it's not forever memorialized in this, because when we save the video, but I'll write that down, and we'll have the worker. I'll take a look at it, and I'll have the worker also take a look at it. But if you could take that off the chat, that would be great. And we'll get in touch with you about next steps related to your case and actions that we can take. But thinking about the arrears balance is really high, no payment in 4 months. To me, that would warrant a contempt petition. Now I see that the worker is mentioning an increase on the arrears payment, and that's another key point that I wanted to mention. Is that the other thing I wanted to mention is that before we can generate a contempt petition, the family court and our Department of Justice is going to want us to increase the arrears payment. If the arrears balance does not currently have a payment on it of 20% of the current support obligation, that is going to be something we need to do first. And that's something that is going to require, us doing what we call a notice of administrative adjustment, and we have to notice the non-custodial parent that a particular situation, that we're going to increase the arrears balance, payment on the balance that's owed to the arrears. There's other situations too, and I'm not sure whether this is particular to your case or not. Looking at situations like bankruptcies and abilities to be able to pay the court-ordered obligation and incarceration, and so there's other things that come into play that would stop child support from taking a particular action, and we'd have to look at the situation to make sure that that's not something that's happening with your particular case. And you may know that situation exists, and I don't know that personally, but I'd have to take a look at it. But we're going to probably go ahead, and if you can't take the name off, I'm not so familiar with Facebook, but if you can't take his name off, we'll go ahead and I'll have the community relations officer remove his name, because we don't want people, and we've actually, that's something else we could talk about briefly. We've actually issued some information on our Facebook page about keeping things as general as possible. I like to hear about particular case situation, but when we start identifying non-custodial parents, custodial parents, or other things, we have rules that we've indicated that we're going to kind of follow. So we'll probably remove the name from his particular case from the Facebook live information. Okay. So the next question: How do we support our children that will soon have long COVID brain damage because our public health officials failed to control the virus, keeping us safe, max mandates? Okay, so this is something that's a little bit outside of the child support arena, and quite honestly, I'm encouraging people to get vaccinated. And vaccination is really the only way I think we're going to get behind this. That's my personal opinion on the subject. And quite honestly, I think our public health officials are doing a great job trying to keep people informed on things they can do to stay healthy, and things that they can do to help their children get healthy. So I'm going to move on and talk still about some of our other enforcement tools that we have. We do talk quite a bit on our Facebook Live editions about our Tax Intercept program. Tax Intercepts are really one of our most successful programs in getting child support in the door. After wage withholdings or orders of income withholding, getting child support payments from our IRS. We get about $4 million, $5 million from the IRS in a normal year. This past year with the economic impact payments, we received about $16 million from the IRS. Quite honestly, we like to send payments out. I mean, that's one of the things that we do here. And to get child support payments in the hands of custodial parents, the IRS plays a big role in that. So we have the federal income tax intercept program, and we also have our state division of revenue tax intercept program, and those are two programs that help get child support in the door. So that's very helpful in order to do that. Those are some of the tax intercept some of the enforcement tools that help our workers get child support in the door. And I'll just reiterate this: anything that the child support program does by doing enforcement, automated enforcement tools we are required to notice the non-custodial parent that we're going to take a particular step against them. That's why for non-custodial parents, it's just as important to give us your updated mailing addresses And the one thing I mention to both parents is if you get a letter from child support, don't ignore it. Open it and work to try and reach out to child support. We are more able and willing to resolve issues if you get to us before the time expires. You know, when we suspend a license, if you can get to us within that 20 days before the system takes that next step to suspend, it's so much easier for us, and it's so much easier for the non-custodial parent, because there's fees that are required to be paid at the DMV, the Division of Revenue, you know, to get that license reinstated. So it's always important to reach out to us in advance, you know. To resolve those particular issues. You know, one of the other things that's important, and I want to talk a little bit about this, and I do preach this a lot when I'm out in public. It is so important for children that are born out of wedlock that we establish paternity for those children. And it can be done simply and free by signing a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity form, and we can mail you one. Both parents would be required to sign it in front of a notary, and we can notarize it for you for free. And you sign it, a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity form. You sign it and you send it to us, and we will make sure that it gets filed with the Office of Vital Statistics, or you can mail it directly to Vital Statistics, and they will update your child's birth certificate with that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. We at Child Support can also work with you to schedule genetic testing before the family court even gets involved. We can schedule and have genetic testing done for the biological mom, the child, and the putative father to get paternity established. And we work to do that and get those results back out to the parties and to the family court. You know, fees for genetic testing are paid by the non-custodial parent once they are deemed the biological parent through genetic testing, and it is done through a court order, and it's done, payment is paid back to the state of Delaware. We front the money for genetic testing only after the putative father has been deemed the biological father. If you are a putative father and we schedule you for genetic testing, and you are deemed not the biological parent, you would not be required to pay back the state of Delaware for those genetic testing fees. And the person who is deemed the biological father would not have to pay for genetic testing for somebody else, only for themselves. But paternity can be established through the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program, or through genetic testing for children that are born out of wedlock. And if the child is born during the time of a marriage, paternity is already established, and no further information would be needed, except for if you're coming to child support, we would want to see the marriage certificate as well as any divorce decrees that exist to determine, yes, the child was born between the two parties while the parties were married. So paternity is so important for the child for many reasons. Medical, you know, child knowing who their biological parents are, Social Security benefits, railroad, retirement benefits. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. Emotional needs to establish paternity for children in Delaware and around the country, and we support that, and we ask for both parents' participation in that process to help establish paternity for their children. And we ask that both parents participate in that process. So let's talk a little bit. You know, we talk a little bit, and I mentioned a lot in my discussion about the Department of Justice. So the Department of Justice is the child support agency's attorneys. And they help us not only, you know, we talk a little bit about legislative processes. They help us draft legislation. They help us With regulatory changes, when the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement asks that child support agencies change or update their regulations are changing or policies, they help with those types of interpretations. But the Department of Justice will participate in child support hearings that occur at commissioners' hearings, commissioners level. At mediation, there's a child support specialist who participates and is there to answer questions from custodial parents and is there to answer questions from non-custodial parents. But at commissioners level, the Department of Justice is there to help create child support orders on behalf of the state of Delaware and the Child Support Office. They also, and this does not happen very often, there is a particular part of the Delaware Code that lets us prosecute non-custodial parents criminally for non-payment of child support. The threshold or the bar that has to be accomplished to do that is very high, and that's why it doesn't happen very often. But criminal prosecutions for child support can take place. They work to help us do that, and they sign petitions and motions that we file with the family court. But the child support process really could not exist without the assistance of the Department of Justice, and they're helping us, work through the child support process. And then the third entity, that really we need to have some discussion about is the family court. I've already mentioned that the family court has a resource center that is there to help custodial and non-custodial parents file documents with the family court. And if a non-custodial parent needs paperwork to file with the family court, they can do that, and they have those documents available. I always encourage people too, and I don't say this enough, to go to the family court website. Any document that is available in court, petitions, motions, or other types of documents that need to be filed, can be found on the family court's website. It's very good with document sharing. But child support is a litigant with the family court. There's a clear delineation between child support and family court. And the family court has certain rules that they followed in order to establish and enforce child support obligations that exist. They also have a whole other realm of things that they're working on as it relates to the youth of the state of Delaware, both criminal and civil actions that take place. But for child support purposes, they help with the creating of those child support obligations that they would like the parties to work to live by. And not only child support, but custody issues, divorce issues, guardianship issues. But those issues are different than child support. So things that happen in the child support arena do not happen in most cases in the custody issue area or the guardianship issue area, but happen separately. Three separate and clear issues that that happen at family court, but do not always happen at the child support office. So child support is different than custody and different than guardianship, and those issues are kept differently and dealt with differently by the family court. But Delaware is a judicial state, and a large majority of the issues that have to be worked on by the child support program actually have to be worked through the family court, because they're really the only entity that can create those child support orders, whether it's a contempt finding or ordering that lump sum payments be paid. It's really the family court that does that, and that's their jurisdiction, and we honor that responsibility. But so it's the Department of Justice, the Family Court, and the Division of Child Support Services, and we make up three separate and distinct agencies, but we work together to make sure child support is being established and enforced here in the first state. When we talk about visitation and custody, oftentimes I hear that, the custodial parent won't let me see the child or children, and I'm going to stop paying child support. And I recommend, and I say this as much as I possibly can, another thing that I've done in the past, and I look forward to going back to doing after the pandemic really has kind of resolved itself, is I talk to non-custodial parents in some of our um, facilities that are being managed by the Department of Corrections, and I talk to them about if you have a visitation order in place, both parties are required to just like a child support order, are required to live by that visitation order. And if they're not custodial parents aren't allowing you to see the child, and there's not a custody or a visitation order in place, you need to get one, because that really is a document that holds both parents responsible for letting the child be shared and nurtured by both parents. So if you don't have one, you need to get one. And then the second thing I tell people is if both parents are not following the visitation order, those documents can be handled and can be filed. Both parents are required to follow them, and if they're not, you could file against the other parent because they're not following that visitation order. But when it comes to child support, I always tell non-custodial parents, if you have a visitation or a custody order in place and you're not being allowed access to the child, do not stop making the child support payments. You've got to make those payments because you don't want that to be held against you for visitation. And if you have a visitation order in place, deal with that separately with the family court. Go to that resource center, go to the family court website, find the document you need and file it with the family court. Family unification is such a huge thing when we talk about child support. Not only, when we talk about emotional needs of the child, knowing that mom or dad is paying their child support as ordered by the family court, or paying child support to the best of their ability. If they hit a financial struggle, paying something will let that child know, hey, mom or dad is trying to make those payments regularly, trying to support me, trying to do everything I need to do. But if you have a custody or visitation order and you're not given access, you need to deal with that separately and continue to make those child support payments. It's so important to do. Both parents are required to support that child, not only financially, and then as we conclude this Facebook Live event, it goes back to that mission statement. If you didn't hear our mission statement, go play this video over again, and I read it the very first thing I did when we started. Go to that mission statement because it talks about the family, and nothing shows a child more that my mom is trying to do better, my dad is trying to do better, when they see those payments and hear that those payments are being made on a regular basis. Try to make those payments on a regular basis. And it's so important to both parents. So as we conclude, I just want to, it's 12:28. We try to hold these Facebook Live events during standard lunch breaks, 11:30 to 12:30, that first Monday of the month. I want to just go over a couple things to remind people. Our offices are open, but they're open by appointment only. So call our customer service unit, 577-7171, and you can talk to a child support specialist and see if you truly need to come to the child support office. And if you do, they'll tell you when, and you can work on a time to come and speak to a child support specialist. In our Newcastle County location, on Christiana Road, about a quarter of a mile from Route 13, we have a drop box. You can make payments there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All three offices will let you make a payment only for a purge payment to avoid being incarcerated, a bail payment to get out of being incarcerated, or to get your license reinstated. All three offices will do that, but you need to call and make an appointment. Please do that. in the Newcastle County only, you can make a payment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at our drop box. But always call, that's available. Always call first. If you need to drop documents off, make an appointment to do that. It's always easier to do it that way, and we can do it that way. If you need a court order, I try to stress to our employees, if a client or a non-custodial parent can verify who they are, let's try to get them a copy. If they need a copy of a court order, let's try to get it to them through email or fax or some other mechanism, just to ease that burden. But we're hoping in September to really start to allow people to come back into the workplace. I'm encouraging people, this pandemic has really affected everybody. If you're vaccine hesitant, please look at the CDC website. Look at legitimate websites that will help you get a better understanding of the vaccination process, and go get vaccinated. Wear a mask if you're not vaccinated. But the only way we're going to get back to normal is to get as many Delawareans and other people around the country vaccinated. It's a safe process, and I encourage people to do that. Thank you very much. We'll be back in August, the first Monday of the month. I'm looking forward to doing that. And check me out on 92.7, the third Wednesday of the month. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay safe, stay diligent, and I hope to talk to everybody soon in person. Thank you, and have a good day.